Good morning, Flyers fans. Good morning indeed. Um, if you're just waking up to the news, um, Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee have been traded to the Calgary Flames for Jacob Peltier. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Andrei Kuzmenko. Calgary also gave up a second round pick in this upcoming draft and a 2028 seventh round pick that'll probably be flipped with Montreal's seventh round pick in that draft. I wouldn't put it past them. Um, and I think I'm thrilled with the trade. And no, it's not earth shattering. No, it's not franchise altering. To me, it shows a vision, at least a little bit, and it's proper talent evaluation, right? Like even though these guys were the names going into this season as ones who would probably be moved, the way things felt with how stagnant this thing was that maybe they just weren't gonna move anybody, and kinda, like, let the thing play out. I'm thrilled with it. Kuzmenko obviously can be a very, very good player. Even if he's not, he walks at the end of this season as a 29-year-old unrestricted free agent. That cap is gone would be gone. I think his current cap hit is, like, 5.5. Um But he played with Michkov a little bit, for St. Petersburg. I think it was only, like, a handful of games, but still, so there's some familiarity there with Michkov. Um, and he can be a solid player, so if it works out, great. If they flip him at the deadline, great. If he walks at the end of the season, great. Either way, it works out in the Flyers' favor. Um, for me, Flyers Twitter does this weird thing where they overvalue their own players, right? Like, they say there's nobody on this team that's worth anything, and then you trade them. And then it's kinda you're see it's a small subset of fans, but you'll see like, "I don't really like the trade, I don't see the point." Well, the point is to do something bigger. You need to be a like, the whole part of high-end talent is putting yourself in a position to get the high-end talent. The Flyers received a decent player. They got rid of 2 guys who had no future here. They had little value around the league. They received a second round pick. They opened up cap space in the future. They got a young player to put in the system who could potentially be a depth guy. I don't know how that's going to play out. But realistically, it was a cap dump for Farabee to get out of that contract. And it was a second round pick and a prospect for Frost. I don't hate it. I think the Flyers are now in a spot where they're almost telling you they need a center, right? A team that needs a center who is moving a young center. It's just at least to me, that's what that shows. Something bigger is at play here. They have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds. I think Doctor Evil Gritty just tweeted it, said 11% of the players in the first 2 rounds are gonna be drafted by the Flyers. Now, granted, I don't think that that's gonna I don't think that they're gonna make all of those picks. That's assets for a trade. That's assets for an offer sheet. Something. It's an avenue to do something, and you're not stuck. I didn't need another season of Farabee. I didn't need another season of Frost. They are what they are, at least here. If they go on and do great things in Calgary, that's wonderful. I wish them the best of luck. It wasn't here. It just wasn't gonna be a thing here. I'm not gonna get caught up on that. For some reason, Flyers Twitter overvalues their own players. Danick Martel got picked up on waivers, and this app had a meltdown. It's just how it goes in Flyers land. It's just the way it goes. So I really like the trade. I'm not gonna get hung up on, "Oh, it's not enough." I think it's more than enough for the guys where they are now for what they got. I think it was more than enough. Got out of that cap. We the Flyers have to move on from middling players who don't move the needle enough. I'm not saying that's what Farabee and Frost are gonna do in Calgary. They did not move the needle enough in Philadelphia for what this team needs. I love it. I love it from just a proper talent evaluation. I've been harping on that all season long. We can use retool, we can use rebuild, we can use all these special terms to make you feel better about what's going on. But at the end of the day, all those terms have in common is proper talent evaluation. Who's here for the long haul? Who isn't here for the long haul? And realistically, they could move more. They're in reach within a top 5 pick right now. Their schedule gets very rough in March. They could flip Risto. Risto could get you a first. Scott Lawton, you could move Scott Lawton. I don't think they're gonna move Scott Lawton, but that's another part of this trade, right? Look at the center depth on this team right now. It is not good. They already knew that they needed a center, and you moved a center and didn't get one back. So that makes the need for a center as high as it has been all season long right now, with some big name centers available. This is a move that can help you get closer to an offer sheet, a bigger trade, whatever the case may be. It's a rebuilding move. Yes, it's not moving Couturier's contract, Ryan Ellis's contract, Owen Tippett's contract. Who knows how all that's going to play out? However, for what these players are, and Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost right now, for what their value is around the league, because clearly it wasn't a lot from this trade, I love the move. Again, not earth shattering, not franchise altering, but it shows a little, at least a little bit of a vision, some proper talent evaluation. These guys were not going to be here for the future. I don't want to get too repetitive, but I'm seeing some people that don't like it, or some people that are just saying it's not enough. It's more than enough, at least for me. And I've been pretty critical of Briere. Like the Flyers did not trade, you know, Mark Recchi or John LeClaire. Like we got to be honest here. Now, whether the Flyers killed their own value or not, it doesn't really. I mean, at the end of the day, they played for a rebuilding team who was lacking center depth anyway. Like it was going to be hard to maximize their value. Wish they could have got more. But we got to call it like it is. We can't fall in love with these players who don't move the needle, and I think that's the problem with this fan base. And I don't want to be the police of you can't like the trade or like the trade, but like I don't think there's a way to spin it to say this is bad for the Flyers. Now, if they make this trade and then they go sign, some bum, 7 years, $7 million cap hit, then we have a problem. Then they're stuck in purgatory forever. Like, let's be honest. But I don't see that happening. Everybody knows the need. These guys have the analytics departments, and they know what they need. They know they needed a center before they traded Morgan Frost. Now you need a center even more. But now a top 5 pick is in play. They're not far off from a top 5 pick. That's huge. If they can get close to a top 5 pick, move Risto for another pick, like they're sitting on assets. They are in a spot they haven't been in a very long time. Now, what they do with that is a whole nother discussion. And I don't want to get too far ahead. But I like what they did. I like what Briere did. I think it was a great move. They got it done. Um, Said it happened pretty quickly. I think the Flames GM, I forget his name, he said that, I think it started out yesterday morning as like a one-for-one player thing. And then it just kind of developed into more. So, Danny's listening. And if it makes sense for what their plan is for the future, they're going to do it. And they did it. Now, this doesn't make Danny the best GM in the world. I'm not saying all of that. It's a vision, it's proper talent evaluation. That's what it comes down to. And Danny did it. Some caps opening up. It's just I like it. Curious to hear your thoughts about it. I'm sure we'll be discussing it all day on Flyers Twitter and things like that. So let me know your thoughts. Flyers Ant on Twitter. Love to hear it. Love the move. Hopefully, and to be honest, it is. I'll end it on this. Like, this is a precursor to something that's going to happen, whether this deadline, probably off season. Off season makes more sense. The draft, you have all these draft picks, the cap, you get a better sense of what's going on. Maybe more players are available. Another team gets a guy that you were after. So you kind of got to navigate it that way. But this is setting up the Flyers to do something bigger for a position of need, which we all know is a center. So I'm thrilled with the move. And I'm just it's we got to see where it goes from here. I like the move individually. We got to see what happens next. It's a big first step in setting themselves up for success down the line. Um, and at the end of the day, that's all they can do right now with where they are in the rebuild and the talent that they have on the roster. So I appreciate for listening, and yeah, we'll discuss this more today. Have a good day and have a great weekend, everyone.